It looks like we have some major news on CM Punk's return to AEW and some potential spoilers for the new show, AEW Collision, that Tony Khan is set to announce later this week. Guys, I'm Omer for Real Take Wrestling. If you haven't already done so, do me a big time favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's talk about what's going on here. So, as we know, Tony Khan has said that there is going to be a major announcement next week that's going to completely change AEW. It's going to be the biggest announcement in the history of the company. And all signs and all reports point to that being the debut or the announcement of a new show that will debut on June 17th, live from Chicago in the United Center. That is going to be AEW Collision. And Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter said this, and I quote, he said that the show Collision will air Saturday, June 17th. This will be the debut episode of Collision from the United Center in Chicago on TNT and will be called The Second Coming. And for those of you who are wondering why that is significant, it is because, if you will remember, the second episode, I should say, of AEW Rampage, CM Punk made his debut with the company, and they called it The First Dance. And CM Punk, I should say, has not been seen on AEW TV ever since All Out 2022. There's all these reports that he's had these meetings with Tony Khan. He's had these meetings with Chris Jericho. He's had these meetings with AEW officials about a return. He's talked about maybe wanting Samoa Joe to be his opponent when he gets back. There's talks about Jericho being his opponent. We won't know that until we actually see what happens. But a few things that we do know is that Punk's going to be coming back in the United Center June 17th in Chicago. And he is going to be the guy, essentially, the flagship guy for this new, I don't want to say brand, but this new program that AEW is going to be launching on June 17th. And just a little bit more information about that. Looks like Wednesday is the Warner Upfronts meeting, Upfronts. That's basically when they announce all the TV lineups for all the networks. Warner Brothers likely will announce AEW AEW Collision, I should say, along with that. And Tony Khan will then make another announcement that night on Dynamite. So Wednesday is going to be a big day, not only for AEW, but for professional wrestling as a whole. They brought back Miro on Dynamite. They brought back Thunder Rosa. And it seems like AEW is just, it just seems like they're about to kick it into a totally different gear. And it's going to be crazy in a very awesome way. But the one thing that, is lingering, obviously, is CM Punk and his relationship with the rest of the roster. And Punk is, a guy who has rubbed people the wrong way, very obviously so, in the past. He's also a guy who has many friends backstage. And one of those people, or one of those friends, I should say, groups of friends, happens to be the AEW World Tag Team Champions, FTR. A lot of people want to see FTR and CM Punk versus the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. I don't know how possible that is right now. It doesn't look like that meeting has happened between Punk and the Elite. There was another report that came out earlier this week, or just yesterday maybe. But another report came out that said that CM Punk hadn't had this meeting with the Elite that they wanted to have. And that apparently there is one party involved that is willing to apologize for their role in the whole situation, but it's not CM Punk. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that CM Punk wouldn't apologize, but it's just weird because one thing that the fans want to see is like something they're probably not going to get at this point. We'll see what ends up happening. It's possible that they work it out. I mean, it would be the smart thing to do, to work it out if you're everyone involved. If you're the Elite, if you're CM Punk, if you're Tony Khan especially, you don't want any of this lingering. You don't want any of this bothering you as you try to kick it into another gear and try to take that momentum back as far as, what's the hotter wrestling company, right? Because for a time, AEW is what I would describe in 2021, especially, they were the hotter product. They were I think they were putting on better shows. They were, just for what they were and their size, outperforming all expectations. And there were some areas and some markets where they were outdrawing WWE. And that momentum was there, and it just seemed like who knows what happened. Something happened. WWE took it back. I wonder what happened in 2022 for that to happen, right? But no, in all seriousness, there's going to be a lot that's going to be announced. I would guess, this is reckless speculation on my part, but I would assume that Tony Khan would announce that we're going to have the first episode of AEW Collision live every Saturday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be the second coming. It's going to be in Chicago United Center, and this might be one of those weird situations, right? Because if you remember the first dance, they did not announce CM Punk officially for that show. It was one of those things where everybody knew the secret. It was an open secret, but AEW never explicitly mentioned it. They threw those hints toward it with that Darby Allin promo and all that, but they never explicitly mentioned it. For this, it might actually behoove AEW to mention it. It might actually be good for them to say, hey, second coming in Chicago, CM Punk's going to be there, so you better watch, because who knows what the hell is going to happen. And the reason I say that isn't because, I think you're ruining a good surprise. I'm not trying to ruin a good surprise, but at the same time, from a business standpoint, right, you want to make sure you get maximum eyeballs on this show. And I think that if you want to get people into the groove of watching professional wrestling Saturdays, 8 p.m., 2 hours live, and all that, I think that one thing that would really help that is being like, hey, biggest star in our company, and I'm not saying he's the best wrestler, I'm not saying he's whatever, biggest star, biggest draw that our company's had, CM Punk, is coming back, and he's coming back in Chicago in front of that raucous crowd in this historic arena, the United Center, prime time on Saturday night. You're going to get a lot of eyeballs. You're going to get a lot of people watching that episode, and then hopefully you're going to sustain that momentum for a while, at least until college football starts up, because then it's just crapshoot. Who knows what's going to happen then? But, man, a lot to talk about. Again, the second coming, it's an interesting name, but it kind of confirms everything that we've already assumed and everything that's already been reported and all that. We'll talk more about this when the announcement actually happens. Until next time, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think about the name, the second coming, for the opening show of Collision? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it going to happen? Is it not? What do you think about CM Punk's return? Let me know in the comment section below. If you haven't already done so, please do me a big time favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.